I was at the opening night of Lolita, My Love, Musicals and Mufti, and I got a chance to interview many of the cast, writers, musical people. James Morgan gave a wonderful speech. There were testimonies, even from an original cast member, and it was a lot of fun.
Oh, here we are with
Cohn.
Lolita, My Love. It's Lolita, My Love, right?
That's correct, it is, yeah.
You play Lolita. How tough is this for you?
Oh my gosh, it's quite a role to take on, but such a privilege, and it's tough in the best way. And as a young actress, I mean, I can't think of a better learning experience. It's such a gift.
But the thing is, what do you think about your character? Because outside, we're thinking you are ruining all these people's lives. You're a train wreck, and yet you're supposed to be the victim, but you're actually, to me, the victimizer. But you, as your character, what do you think?
Right. It's interesting. I mean, everyone really has different opinions about this character. For so long, she's been so stereotyped and stigmatized. But when I read the script, I saw this brilliant, strong young woman who was doing everything that she felt she needed to do in her situation in order to survive and get the future that she wants and deserves. And at that time, you know, you needed a man in order to do that in some respects. And then she got herself into very dark territory and was able to realize it and work herself out of it with dignity and power. And so, I mean, I empathize with her very much, but I empathize with every character in this play. To me, there's no real villains in this play, even despite what people think.
It's like everyone has aspects of villainy in them.
Exactly. But like people, we're not all villains all the time, and we're not all perfect all the time. So there's all sides.
Yeah, you bring mother-daughter issues to a whole new level.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. Absolutely. That's true. Yeah.
Congratulations. You were phenomenal up there.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here, and it's so nice to meet you and talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Robert Sella.
And you got the tricky part of Humbert.
I did. Humbert and Lolita, My Love. It's been a real challenge for sure.
No, because, you know, it's like, you're supposed to be the bad guy, sort of, but you're really not. I mean, like I was saying to the actress who played Lolita, everyone has aspects of villainy in them, and you almost feel like he's the victim from her.
Well, I mean, I think what's hard about this is that the book is so famous and so beloved, even though it obviously deals with such a difficult subject. And this musical is attempting to try to find a way to tell this story that people can at least be invited into trying to see what may be going on in the inner workings of these people. And so it's a real challenge to try to invite people to, you know, just take a deep breath and go on the journey and let their curiosity and their open-mindedness find out what makes somebody so horrible, what makes these terrible events happen, and hopefully they can, you know, go along, you know, with us for the story. And I think they did tonight.
Yeah, especially because your love seems sort of like pure love. It doesn't seem like icky love at all.
Oh, well, I think he believes it's pure, and he really loves this young woman with all of his might. But I think to look at it from the outside, it's, you know, it's obviously, it isn't anything about it that's right. Everything about it is so wrong and has a sort of a toxic, sort of terrifying element to it. But you have to want to stay there for 2 hours and see what will happen. So if he was just a sort of ogre-y, terrifying, evil guy, you'd say, oh, I'm not worried about him. Anybody could pick that guy out, you know, a mile away. But if he's somebody who seems suave or friendly or witty or interesting, that makes him even more dangerous.
Urbane.
Yeah, yes, exactly. So.
And also I think it helps that you like Edgar Allan Poe, and you make her into Annabelle. So she's almost like she's not real. So we don't have to think of it as a real situation.
Well, in a way, it's funny because obviously the novel, he's the most famous, unreliable narrator practically in literature, right? So we don't really know at the end of the day what's true. Who's real, who's not real? Was Annabelle someone he knew, or did he make her up? Did he love her? Did he hurt her? You just really don't know. And
I thought it was Annabelle Lee from the Edgar Allan Poe story.
Well, I mean,
that's the way I saw it.
It all connects together. There are all these different echoes throughout. But I mean, that's what who knows? Is it Annabelle Lee from fiction? Is it an Annabelle he really met by the sea? Well, we don't know.
Oh, how interesting. Well, congratulations, and it's so nice to see you.
You too, I'm glad to see you. Happy New Year.
Erik Haagensen.
Oh, you helped fix up the book, right?
Yes, I edited the script together from 6 different versions, all by Lerner, but the script is still all by Lerner.
Wow, so what was it, like a giant puzzle? I mean, how did you do that? I mean, it's not like a quilt, or is it like a quilt?
It was, you know, stitching everything together. You just go through everything and you try to hold it all in your head, and you know what you think is the best iteration of a scene or the best theatrical device for telling that particular story or whatever, and you just try to assemble it, you know, so that it's the strongest possible script.
So the scenes were all higgledy-piggledy and you had to put them together?
Well, no, there were 6 different scripts, and each script had significant differences between each, because he never really found the way to tell the story, and he was looking for that, and he only really found the device that allows you to tell the story after the production had closed in Boston. They rewrote for 4 more months after that, and it was then that the character of the psychiatrist was added.
You were trying to make it more palatable to people.
I don't like the word palatable, although I suppose you could use it.
What word would you do?
Accessible. So that an audience would sit for the story and be interested in the story and not just reject it because of the subject matter. And that's what the psychiatrist, I believe, allows an audience to do.
So it kind of takes it out of itself and kind of, you know, it makes it more...
It provides an audience surrogate. And, you know, since it's clear that the psychiatrist disapproves of Humbert, the audience doesn't necessarily feel that they must voice their disapproval.
Oh, that's the gimmick. Ah, very clever.
Yeah. Well, that was Alan J. Lerner. I didn't do it.
Yeah, but you found it and you put it together.
Yes, I found it and put it together. Yes.
Well, congratulations. You did a very good job, because I could not tell with 6 different scripts. It seemed like one giant thing to me.
Well, it is a giant thing, I'll tell you that, all the rewrites that the poor man did, but he finally got there. So, you know, I'm very happy that we've been able to do it and show...
You got to admire him for taking such a difficult subject matter and wanting to make it succeed.
Yes, I do, very much. It was a very bold and daring musical to do in 1971, so...
Anytime, let's face it.
Yeah, I would agree.
Elizabeth Sparkston, Joyce Dugan's going on right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, congratulations. We are with...
George Abood.
This is very different from the band's visit.
It's different than everything. And it's very different than the band's visit, that's true.
So, what do you think about your character? Do you think he's like the slimiest slime, or how do you justify your character? Because to me, he's the one that first seduces Lolita. He's the one that's like stealing her away, and he's the one that dumps her. I mean, he's to me way worse than Humbert.
You're right. This guy lives by like the FUN policy, right? This guy's having fun. I can't. Like, we've had a week to work on this, right? So I think if I was able to, like, sink my teeth more into this and we were doing this longer, I think I'd make him a lot even more outrageous, because this guy is just wild. He's going after the fun. He's going after the hedonistic, dreamlike lifestyle. You know, they're in orgies, they're doing drugs, they're having sex with each other, everybody's having a good time.
But why with a 13-year-old? What is it about this 13-year-old that, you know, he thinks he could have...
You can't ask me. I didn't write them.
No, I'm asking your character. I mean, you're in your mindset of your character.
The mindset of my character? Oh my God, let's tape something where I say why the book... I don't know. I think he's just after any interesting person. There's just something that sparks something in her, that sparks something in him, you know? There's something about this gal, but I really don't even have much interaction with her in the actual script. It's all just inference.
That's true. You're like the shadowy figure in the background.
Right, and all the scenes and the dream states that Humbert's remembering or fantasizing about are out of order.
Than, as far as I can tell, anyone ever thought it could be in. And the idea for it and the impetus for it comes from Erik Haagensen, who is a brilliant. Erik brought me the idea and did all the work to pull this together from 6 different scripts, and we are indebted to you for the the idea and for the work that made it happen.
Well, I thank the York for, and particularly you for having the guts to do it. One thing.
That's right.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Can you elaborate?
Look, this obviously means a lot to me because of how much Alan J. Lerner meant to me and how interested I've always been in this show. To have it come together in the way that it did with this magnificent cast, this extraordinary director, this amazing Deniz Cordell, musical genius. Everybody worked really, really hard. Everybody just put their head down and moved forward. There was no drama. There was no anything. It was just, let's get it done. And we did. And I'm extremely proud of it and everybody involved.
Thank you.
Deniz, would you care to say anything?
I'm utterly speechless, except for the one I have prepared.
And it's long.
Yes. I have very little to add at this juncture because we still have many more shows to do. But I just would like to thank the York and Emily and this fantastic cast for making my job the most fun and incredibly easy I could possibly imagine. And please, for the love of God, don't forget everything between now and Wednesday.
And I've asked Emily to say a few words. Chose you. If that's, yeah, we chose you. Yeah, and we're amazed. I'm amazed at what you've created.
Okay. I guess all I'll say is doing any show in this amount of time is truly ridiculous. But doing this show in this amount of time has truly been one of the most challenging experiences I've ever had, and it was only possible because this group of actors was honestly the most collaborative, giving, egoless, story-first dream of a cast I sincerely have ever worked with. So I'm most so grateful that they walked in on day one of a musical based on Lolita. Like, yeah, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do it right, and we're gonna not rest until we get it right. And that's all you can really ask for in a room. So thank you to them. Thank you to Deniz for taking my occasional sass. And for, mind reading on underscoring sometimes. And mostly to Erik and Jim for, trusting me with this story and this girl and, allowing me to kind of do what I wanted with it. Because it's been really challenging and thrilling and amazing.
There are also people behind the scenes. I don't want to get into naming them, but stage managers. Steve, are you here? What? Oh, okay. It still looks great.
Yes.
Amazing. And Kevin Maloof, our wonderful production manager. It's our last show with him. But we hope you'll be here on a regular basis to see things because you're always welcome. And our just everyone behind the scenes, thank you so much. But the amazing York staff, none of this would happen without them. One of our interns, Alana Roberts, is over there. Up through the ranks to Aaron Sims, our general manager. I don't want to get into names because we don't forget people, but Evans Hale, our executive director. thank you all for making this happen. And I don't know who else. Would anyone from the cast care to say anything?
I've been waiting for this moment all day. Can we get some more of it now? What am I saying? It's been a really fun week. I'm so glad I did this. I'm so glad that every single person in this did this, because this is a really enjoyable group of human beings. And the York's really terrific. I've wanted to work here for a while. And this is a wonderful time to do it. I love Alan J. Lerner. And now I got all these new friends and wonderfully talented people to know and love. And why am I still speaking?
Anyone else? Yeah.
Who can follow that?
Well, as the oldest member of the cast, and I say that with great pride, it is a thrill and a privilege to work on this show. I remember when I was about to turn 17, the show was to open on my 17th birthday, and I heard the album the bootleg when I was up at Quilty a couple of years ago, and I'm just thrilled to be back at the York, working with a group of actors that makes the Moscow Art Theater look like a bunch of schnorrers.
I like that.
And I mean, I'm just so blown away by everybody's work and how magnificently they have come to this material and given themselves over to it. Thank you, Jim and Erik and Deniz and Emily, all of you, for your hard work and your faith in us in bringing this work to life and bringing this finally, after so many years, to a New York audience. And I'm thrilled that we are performing this in front of John Witham, who was in the original cast, and his lovely wife Beth Fowler, both of whom I've had the privilege and honor of working with, and I love them madly, and they're still cute as hell. And I'm just very, very, very grateful. Thank you.
We also must acknowledge that Olivia Colman just applauded.
We are deeply indebted to our press representative, Philip Karuba. Oh, Philip, there you are, right there.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Robin, would you care to say anything?
All right.
No pressure.
I just thought I'd start from the beginning and do the whole thing one more time.
Yes.
No. I'll just take it brief. I thought, Jay, what you said was so beautiful and so true. I think, I don't know about all of you, everybody's at different stages of their lives and careers, and everyone's working on different things. But for me, I've been living in New York for a long time, and I've done all sorts of different things. Sometimes they're very shiny and wonderful, and sometimes they're very small and quiet. And there have been many times when I've thought to myself, is this the right path, and shall I go on? Because it is a hard life. And I don't mean to, it's so hard. There are much harder lives. This is a first world hard life. But it is a challenging one, and it's one that has many pitfalls. And for all the people who have welcomed you with generosity and patience and love, there are some times when that doesn't pay the rent and it doesn't fulfill all the dreams you had when you were sort of starry-eyed and looking at it from far away. And having an opportunity like this is essential because it is fuel and it is light, in a way, even in the darkness of the material and of its subject matter, to say, yes, you're not finished yet. There's more to say. There are more things to try to do and to discover. I truly would say I want to thank you for this jewel that you've shared with me, each of you. And I hope for all of you, whatever you do, whether you're performers or you're here supporting your loving performers, that you experience in your life and work that says, I see you, keep going. That's what this has meant to me, and I will never forget it. So, congratulations to all, and thank you for including me.
Sure. It's been like 17 years since I've been, it might have even be longer than that. And the last time I was here at the York, Jim practically killed me. Do you know that when I first looked at doing Hallelujah Baby, the first rehearsal, they were like, and so, we're just gonna sing for all the songs. You know them, right? And I was like, hella no. You don't know songs. And they're like, you're effed. They were like, oh. And it was an amazing experience. I learned I could pull my and do it again. I could do it. You know, it was the most amazing experience working on Hallelujah Baby. It was an African-American cast for the most part, and that was amazing to see. Yes, and it was just amazing. And this piece, again, I was telling Jim, I learned stuff about myself I didn't. This wasn't as easy as I thought it could be. This was actually probably one of the harder roles that I've done in a while, just given the parameters. And so, just like you're saying, you know, you never stop learning, and you never, there's always this next thing to do. So whether you're starting out like some of the youngins that we have, or some of us who've been in it for a while, coming here to New York, it just kind of gives you that moment to sit back and go, I can do a little bit of what I love to do, and get a little taste, because you pay us well, you don't cheat us, nothing, you know. And I'm just as thrilled to be here again, and I'm just going to say thank you, and I want to make sure that the people behind the scenes know how much we all appreciate everything you're doing, especially stage management. And to thank Emily, I have to tell you, it doesn't happen very often when you do these very fast pieces that your director comes in with a plan. A lot of them come in thinking they're just going to put it up there and think it's going to be Grace. And I appreciate that Emily just came in with this like mission, and it started from the top, and that's why we're all able to like get through it tonight and get through it yesterday. So thank you, and thank you, Rebecca.
There's so many things that come to mind. I mean, I've known that I've wanted to do this my entire life. It has not been that long. But there have been many, many moments, as in any artist's life, where you kind of just look up and say, like, wow, like, what? When I wake up in the morning, what makes me want to tell someone else's story? And what makes me want to give my heart to that person and share. And this experience has been that for me, and then some. To come in and have 5 days and just say, let's just give ourselves to this process and give ourselves to each other and love and listen. I mean, God, in our world right now where there's not enough loving and listening, like, I'm so grateful for what we do as artists, and man, to tell this story, to play this young woman is such a privilege, and I cannot thank Jim, Erik, Emily, thank you, oh my God, Deniz, I mean, I cannot thank you enough. This is such a gift, and I just have to say thank you to Robbie too, because honestly, like, he has been the most outstanding, extraordinarily talented, giving, beautiful person I could ever tell this story with, and I don't know that I could have done this without you this week, so I wish we
to a cast member from the original production who was part of our talkback this afternoon and finally saw the show tonight, and I just love your thoughts on seeing it again after 49 years.
49 years. 49 years. Good Lord. Truthfully, it was the first Broadway show I was involved with in my life. So it was all very new and kind of crazy. So I know I was really excited about it. And I was really disappointed when we didn't come in. Everybody was, and whatever. But I have to say that there were problems with the show. People got up and left, and there were a lot of things going on, and the time was different than it is today. But what I saw tonight, this is an amazing experience tonight. What you've done, and what they've done collating those scripts. Those 6 or 7 scripts, was it? 6 scripts that Alan wrote. And we never knew about a psychiatrist. There was no psychiatrist in our production. We didn't know. It didn't exist. There wasn't any of that there. They never told us about that. But putting all that back in and putting these things together, you were marvelous. Every one of you. It was amazing to be here. It brought back a tremendous amount of memories that I have of that time. I was a kid. I was, 22 years old. And it was just a joy to be here tonight. You all did a magnificent job, and I've got faith in the project again. There's things here that are good. It's a tough story. It's hard, and you did a wonderful job tonight. Every one of you contributed to it. I thank you for that. I'm very, very glad that I got a chance to come here. Jim, thank you so much for getting us some tickets. Saying that we had our tickets tonight. But thank you all very much. It was a magnificent experience tonight. The heck with the Academy Awards. I would rather be here than there, let me tell you. It was wonderful. Thank you very much.
Party on. Thank you.
Jessica Tyler Wright.
And you have the unlucky task of being the mother.
The mother, Charlotte Haze. Yes, Lolita's mother.
In a way, I just thought about it, but your scenario is sort of Greek tragedy, isn't it?
It's very interesting. I've been thinking about this as a 2019 mother of a daughter. What would 2019 mother of a daughter in 1971, because that's when this is actually said, what would she have done back then? And it's interesting because the Charlotte Haze of 1971 just needs a husband. And of course, in our telling of the story, it's all through Humbert's dialogue. It's his representation of what happened. So a lot of her crazy antics probably weren't so heightened. But yeah, she just wanted a husband. And I think that blinded her to maybe what she saw was happening.
And there's nothing more difficult than a tween teenager daughter.
Like I said, mine's 5. I'm just bracing myself. I mean, she's a beautiful, beautiful girl, but I'm ready. I'm bracing myself.
Well, actually, you get a sneak peek when they turn 7 and a half. They're like little tiny teenagers.
Fantastic.
So, I mean, the thing is, it's like the daughter kind of sets everything in motion. Just because she's so mad at you, it kind of like she ends up destroying so many people. But it's like I was saying that everyone has an aspect of villainy in them. There's nobody that's totally good or totally bad at this. It's very complex character.
It's very interesting, but when you really think about the life stories that they've all been through, Lolita lost her father. If she's 14 and he passed away, I forget when we did the math, when she was 2, I think we did the math. She basically grew up without the father figure. And like I said, modern day times would be just fine-ish because women feel a little more empowered now. But back then it was like, no, I need a husband, I need the male, which is why Charlotte in the dialogue says, but you're the head of the family, you're the father, you're the man. Even though he's the stepfather, and Charlotte's been raising this child on her own for 10 years, 12 years.
She does call the shots. She still does, even when she gets the man of her dream.
Don't we usually? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
We deserve to.
Yes. Thank you. We've earned it.
Yeah. And in a way, Lolita ends up being just like you.
And the casting. I cannot believe how much Caitlin and I look alike, too. That was really pretty. And when we have our hair up at the same way and down, yeah. And then the same song comes out in Act 2. It's the same old song, and all of a sudden, now here's Lolita singing it to Humbert. It's very clever the way it's constructed and written.
Yeah, you guys all pulled it off. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. It was a Herculean feat. And I think we all have something to be very, very proud of.
Humboldtian feat.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello, here we are with
Thursday Farrar.
And you play the psychiatrist.
I do. I play Dr. June Ray.
I'm talking to your character now, so it's like, because your character fascinates me, because she's a psychiatrist, and psychiatrists are always trying to get the dreams and the illusions, but she wants the reality from him, and I thought that was an interesting switch.
I think because he's showing me this fantasy, this idea of what he believes happened, and as we go through the story, I start to realize that I'm not quite sure he's telling me the truth. And one of the first things he says to me in the beginning is about talking about fantasies. I love delving into all of that because he's had some practice being under psychiatric care. And as we go along, I'm trying to get to the moral compass of this man, the truth. As a clinician, am not his judge and jury, so all I can do is evaluate him. But in the end, I feel like the justice is to get him to at least accept the truth of what he did to this little girl.
But as a psychiatrist, you're supposed to be non-judgmental, but you're very judgmental. And I found out now that you're supposed to be that way so that we don't have to feel that way.
I think there's a bit of that. I think there's a bit of weight that gets let off the audience and let me be the one who can express that. Because there's a lot going on, and I'm sure everybody's sitting there knowing the Titanic is going to happen. You know, we all know what's going to happen. For the most part, the audience that's there understands the story. How is it going to unfold for them? And is it going to unfold in a way that they can accept it, be comfortable with it? I don't know. It's almost impossible. We talked about this character not having a judgment, being kind of a blank slate. And as we did it, I felt like that was impossible to do. There was no way that he could show me this production after production number of what happened and not be affected by it. There was no way to do that. Now, how do I turn this character, make that turn and say, all right, now I got you, and I'm going to get you to at least accept what you did. If I can get you to do that, that's all the judgment I need. That's all the justice I need.
But the thing is, he's accepted the murder more than what he's accepted what he did to this girl.
Yes. The murder is a justification. It's a means to the end. He's trying to get the girl. He probably would murder a whole bunch of people if he thought that it got him closer to his love. It's sick. It's part of the psychosis. Like he says to me, it was like nothing. It was completely insignificant for me to shoot this man. I felt nothing. Wow. That's a lot. That's one of my keys of going, okay, what's going on here? And then when I see that she's just a child, she's not this seductress that we all think, right? Yeah, this nymphette, she's not that. She's just a 14-year-old girl who gets manipulated.
So she manipulates.
I think, unfortunately, what choice does she have? She loses her mother and has no family, no father. There's no talk in the script of other ancillary family around. So this little girl figures out, I don't know if it's manipulation or survival. How do I survive? What am I going to do next? And he's brought me here to this motel, and the expectation is I have to make him happy so that I can live, I can eat. I don't know if she had any choice at the moment, or at least that was her feeling, that she did the best that she could to have a normal life, to move on. So, you know, it's manipulation in a way where they talk about people being taken as hostages and how they have to...
Stockholm Syndrome.
Exactly. And I feel that that's kind of what's happening here in a funny way.
But then how do you explain Q? Because he to me is more awful than Humbert to me.
So Q, I think, is a figment and the fantasy of what we see of Q, of Quilty. I mean, Quilty is a child of the 70s. Absolutely. But I think the fabrication, why Q is so dramatic, and we see this overly, this vaudevillian, I can never say that word, presentation of him, is that because I think it's not real. It's not, it is what's in Humbert's mind to justify killing him, to getting rid of him. He's a rival. He's a sexual rival. I'm trying to find a million ways to justify, because there's so many layers to this musical that's not in the text, that's not in there.
But these are all really fascinating.
So I think that the vision that we see of Quilty is not who Quilty really was, but what I'm being presented. And in the end, that's why I say this is all a fantasy. This is all a romantic fantasy, that you've painted this picture of this man doing this and that to this child. And I'm not saying that he wasn't bad, but I don't think he wasn't obsessed. It was a different pedophile, you know, if you were. And so I think they're two interesting men, two extremely flawed men, and which is why we needed this woman's perspective, and we needed more of the women's perspective, because it balances that thing that we, you know.
I just thought of it. One's sexual pedophile, the other is romantic pedophile.
Right. And, you know, there's no justifying what these two men are doing.
Oh, God, no.
Absolutely devastating for this young woman.
But she did go after Q willingly.
Yes. To escape I think she goes to Q because it's fun, and she needed to escape the oppression. I can't imagine somebody loving you so much that you can't go anywhere, can't do anything. There's nothing loving about that. There's nothing, and Quilty is this, like, flash. So I feel that, you know, unfortunately she's 14. So she went from the fire to the frying pan, or from the frying pan into the fire, that's what I meant to say. But I think that's, you know, and I at least in the end feel she finds a safe place to land with the young man that she marries and has a future with. So all is not lost. I hope that that's the journey that she can keep going, because she's had a rough road for a young girl, you know.
But she gets her happy ending in Alaska.
She gets her happy ending, you know, which we all need.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. This is just fascinating, and enjoy the party, and maybe they'll bring it back for a longer run, because this is a real interesting oddity that I think more people would love to see.
Yes, I think so too. I mean, we sold out this afternoon, and I think we're sold out tonight. I think people are fascinated, and because people haven't gotten a chance to see what this musical, you know, nobody has a realization of this musical. People are coming out to just kind of watch the train go by, you know, and I think
get surprised.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Thank you. Here we are.
Deniz Cordell.
Oh, God, I love the top.
Thank you very much. Yes, it's Bach. Thank you.
So when they're putting 6 pieces together, does that also mean with the music having to, how do you figure out music with 6 different scripts? I mean, what did you do?
Well, fortunately, the music itself did not change terribly much between versions of the show. The score was always set in some form or another. There were a handful of new numbers written when the show went from Philadelphia to Boston, and actually John Barry and Alan Lerner wrote a new song together after the show closed in Boston as well. They continued working on it. But the script, Erik gave me the script that he had prepared, which is very clear and in terms of where the music was, what songs we were using, what sets of lyrics, because, you know, Lerner, a prodigious rewriter as well, and who's never satisfied until he really felt he had nailed a phrase, you know, had written several different versions of lyrics for these songs. And from there, it was a matter of finding and being given, through various friends and colleagues, what little written music existed from the show, and sort of putting it into the computer and listening to the recordings made by people who would sneak into the Schubert Theater in Boston with you know, their reel-to-reel tape recorder. And to them, I'm truly grateful, because if you hadn't taped the show illegally, we would be completely hopeless in terms of putting the many of the songs together and the music. It's really so it's just a matter of looking at the script, talking with Erik, and putting the songs together.
And how difficult is it to do orchestrations from an orchestra to a piano and just that little tinkly thing you use? The tinkly thing was for the fantasy part, right?
Yes, the tinkly, Lolita My Love was, if not the first, it was one of the very first musicals to use a Moog synthesizer in its orchestra. It was quite groundbreaking in that regard. And that 12-note phrase, that ba-da-da-da-da-dee-da-da-da-da-da, which is sort of almost like a dodecaphonic thing, it's like a tone row, was voiced on the Moog. And so Erik and I both felt very strongly that it should have an electronic sort of sound. And the York had their keyboard here, and we tried out a couple of things that sounded more Moog-like, but what we settled on that everyone was happy with was this sort of synthesized, almost bell sound. Yeah, it had a ping to it in addition to a sort of a flanging texture, and then that sort of lent it a kind of a spectral, kind of otherworldly, unsettling quality to it, I think.
Wind chimey thing.
Yeah, yes, very much so. It's the stop is called digibells. So just digital bells. But so the keyboard is used for those sorts of moments where we're more clearly seeing kind of Humbert's point of view and sort of the depth of his obsession and illness, and it really is designed to address sort of that idea specifically throughout the show, with that sound and that pattern. And it's how the show opens too, so it sets up right away kind of what the show is about musically.
Well, it was just terrific, and congratulations. You did a wonderful job with just the piano and the tinkly digibell.
Yeah, the piano and the tinkly digibell. Yes, that's how I should put that on my business card.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I guess the original cast member was John Witham.